All right. So how feasible is wind power for you? That's what we're going to talk about right now. So first of all, the first thing that comes to my mind is a wind map. You need to find out where you live, but you probably don't even need the wind map to know whether or not you have enough wind. If it's blowing like crazy all the time, you probably have enough wind. If it doesn't blow at all, you probably don't have the wind. It's just like solar panels. Some of my neighbors, they live up inside of a canyon, and they're just not getting any sun during the winter months. Just a bad spot for solar and wind altogether for those poor folks. So how do I know whether or not wind is going to pencil out? Well, let's do the math. Math is a good place to start. All right, so the only thing I can really compare it to is my generator. I know my generator runs about 3. And you've seen my generator probably. I'll put a link up to what I use up here. It's a kind of an alternator Predator motor hybrid. I do that because it's cheap and it works really good. And I just charge my battery and use my inverter, my house inverter, and so there's no interruption. So I can run my generator for 3 hours. I'm generating 30 amps. I have an amp gauge, and I run 30 amps. That's what the maximum that the wire will handle. And I don't want to overheat my alternator either. So I can times that by the voltage that I'm putting out, which is around 27 volts on average. So I get a number of about 810 watts, all right? And in an hour, I can make 0.81 kilowatts. Does that make sense? A kilowatt is 1,000 watts for 1 hour. Kilowatt hours, 1,000 watts for 1 hour. Let's times that by 3 because we get 3 hours. So in a night, I can put 2.4 kilowatt hours into my battery banks. And that has used 1/3 gallon of gas. So we're going to times that by 3 again. And we come up with 7,290 watts, kilowatts. 7.2 kilowatts is what we're actually coming up with. Let's call it 7.3. So how do we do our math here now to figure out our wind generator? Our wind generator, I know, puts out around, my wind generator, I'm just talking about mine. I don't know what yours could put out, but I'm just giving you my math to kind of give you a general idea, and we're going to compare it to the solar power. So my wind generator puts out around 200 kilowatt hours, give or take, per year. Some days it'll blow all day. I'll probably get 5 or 6 kilowatt hours out of it. Other days, it may not blow for a week, and then I'll get 2 or 3 days of wind, whatever. Or, I might get an hour or two of wind every evening. So it's all over the place with the wind. A really educated guess on my part is around 200. So 200, and now remember, we were able to get 7.2 kilowatt hours out of a gallon of gas. So we have to figure out how many times this is going to, so we have to divide this by 7.2. Okay, that gives us 27 gallons of gas equivalent that's saving me. Let's just call it 28. We'll round it up to 28. All right, are you guys following me so far? So we have 28 gallons of gas. We're going to times that by the current gas prices, and we come up with $106.40. $106.40. So my wind generator is saving me $106. I paid around $1,000 for the wind generator, so 10 years is what it's going to take to pay that wind generator off. That was for the wind generator and the tower, the wire. That was for everything. My wind generator was around $500. I got some videos on that too. Let's figure out what my solar panels, how much actual energy they make, and how long I could pay those off. Let's say if I owed $1,000 on $1,000 worth, 1,000 watts worth of solar, because that's about what I paid for them. They're a little cheaper now. And actually, I got a smoking hot deal on some panels from Santan Solar that I paid almost nothing for. So the solar panels, they put out a rated 1,000 watts, but there's no way I'm going to get 1,000 rated watts out of these things. So I'm just going to cut that right in half. So we got 500 watts coming out of this puppy. We're going to get, we're going to figure about an average of about 4 hours of sun or maximum output per day. Between the summer and the winter, I mean, this is a low estimate, right? But just for purposes of illustration, we're going to go with the low estimate on this. So 4 hours a day. It's probably more like 6 hours, but we'll go with 4. So what was it? 500 times 4 equals. So that gives us 2,000, excuse me, 2 kilowatt hours a day. All right, does that make sense? We're going to times that 3 No, that's not a 3. 365 times 2. And we get 730 kilowatt hours per year. All right. Now we have to divide that, because we're going to convert this into gallons of gas, by 7.2. And that gives us 101 gallons of gas. And we're going to times that by 3.8. And we get $385 a year. So these solar panels can essentially pay themselves off in under 3 years. So that's the difference. Now, solar panels now, and as I mentioned, the cost was about the same. Now, you might have tremendous wind, way more than I do. Let me pull up a map, show you about where I live. I live somewhere in the neighborhood of this area right here. And as you can see, these darker areas are high wind. And there's some of those little dark areas right in here. There's a lot of green. Green is kind of low on the scale. Yellow, a little bit better. There's a kind of mixture of yellow and green. Now, the neighbor up on the hill, his wind turbine seems to be spinning all day long, every day, even when apparently there's no wind. He's right up on a hill. Perfect spot. Me, I'm kind of down a little bit lower. I don't get as much wind. I get 200 kilowatts a year, kilowatt hours. So just a little math. I hope that helps out in some way. That's one way you can do it. This is going to pencil out considerably less if you're living in town, because you're not paying near as much for a kilowatt hour as, let's say, you would off grid. In all honesty. Now, as I get more and more solar put up, maybe I'll get another wind generator put up. I'm going to be using less and less gas every single year to supplement my power. And my goal is to get to the point where I'm not using any gas at all. But you do have the battery cost then. So, you are paying for power out here, make no mistake about it. The power is not free by any stretch of the means. But this does give you somewhat of an illustration of the cost difference, between $106 a year in savings, if you're supplementing with a generator, versus the $385 a year with your solar panel per 1,000-watt array. Now, if I had 3 arrays, and I got some solar panels where I can put up another 3,000 or 4,000 watts for under $1,000, and so the savings is even greater still. So currently, I would say solar is the best pound per pound cost effectiveness to go. Now, I realize there's places like Alaska. You almost need wind power up in some of those areas, if you have wind. And, of course, hydro is your all-time granddaddy of them all. But my name is Kerry Martin. You're watching Off-Grid 406. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, all that happy stuff. Share this video, please, and we'll see you on the next one.